Hi there, this is Leah from the Race Center and Tyler from the Recreation Department, and we are here in one of the last frosty patches of field trail.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, last week we talked about being able to possibly talk about frost, and it happened last night. Really magical moment. I don't know if you can get some of this, Leah. There are these little ice crystals that are glittering on these leaves here. Maybe. But yeah, it's always a really special moment when you wake up and you look out your window and see, if there's a grassy area that's covered in frost, or right here, these leaves. And it's just, things are changing, magic is happening. And so there's a couple different types of frost. And, it's just that magical point right around 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. And so much of life depends on that moment. But I do want to just say that there are a couple different types of frost. And there's hoar frost, H-O-A-R, also referred to as radiational frost. And rime is something different. And that is when you see those pictures of Mount Washington and the dump truck up there that's just been completely covered with ice, that's actually not frost. That is rime, which is super cooled water droplets. And frost is something different. It's when the water vapor in the air actually does not become water. It just deposits onto a cold surface and becomes ice. And so sometimes you will see like frozen dew or water droplets, which are clear and don't have that crystalline structure. But the frost, the hoar frost, which is from an Old English word that means looking aged. And so, there's like gray.
Yeah, now I can zoom in on it. There we go.
Yeah, okay. So that's, these leaves also have that same appearance. Getting a little salt and pepper, a little more salt down here. And so they get this fine crystal structure when you look at it, and sometimes can become quite feathery. And I'm pretty sure we'll have another chance to talk about it this winter. You'll see crystals that can grow on top of the snow surface, which can be quite impressive sometimes. But, early in the season here, we're just getting a little crisp, a little white layer on the leaves and grass. But there's a reason that there's still frost here and there is not frost there. It has already melted there. The sun is hitting it. There's mixing of the air over there. The wind is starting to move around a little bit. So this time of year, we're much more likely to see frost on those cool, clear, calm nights. I think you can see behind me that we are dealing with very few clouds here. So there's no blanket to hold the heat in. And so what happens is the heat that's embedded in the soil and the grass and these dead leaves, it rises. It just goes up into the atmosphere, and there's nothing to stop it from continuing. And so the cold air comes in and settles, and that's where the frost deposition happens. And you will notice, you probably have them on your property or in your yard. There are frost pockets. Some towns are in frost pockets. They tend to be where cool air settles. And you will notice that, typically high elevations are colder. And so, the tops of mountains in the summer are colder, typically than the valley floors. But on these cool, clear nights, you can get an inversion where the cold air settles down on the floor, and then the warm air is above. And sometimes you can see these amazing scenes when you are maybe early to the chairlift or early on your hike and the clouds are all below and there's just a couple peaks up above the clouds. That's when there's an inversion, and that's just a really clear visualization of that cold air settling. And that's why apple orchards are on the sides of hills instead of at the top or at the very bottom. So some crops like that are sensitive to frost, by putting them mid hill on the hillside, they catch the wind, so they're less likely to get that frost that settles right down on them. But some of us live in those places, we see it around us, and we can see those amazing feathery crystals, and there's so much more to talk about. We will come back to this one. But for next week, there's a lot fewer leaves around on these branches, and so this is a time of year that a lot of people enjoy, called stick season, and we will investigate that further next week.
Excellent. Thank you very much.